I got my hair up and a lab coat on. Today we're doing some official science. Actually, I just thought it'd be really fun to do 6 different science experiments that you can do at home with ingredients you either probably already have in your home or can very easily run to the store and go buy. So first up, your classic baking soda and vinegar. This is just, this is the bread and butter of chemistry and scientific experiments. I mean, you have baking soda and vinegar, volcano, you have launching rockets with baking soda and vinegar, you can blow up a balloon with it, you can clean your house with baking soda and vinegar. It's just a good time all around, honestly. And we know that baking soda and vinegar is a simple reaction of an acid and a base coming together to form some water and some carbon dioxide, which is that bubbling gas that is coming out of the solution. One of my favorite things to do with baking soda and vinegar is making a baking soda and vinegar rocket, which I've done on this channel before, so I'll just roll you over to previous me to show you how it's done. Hello! To do this experiment, you'll need a Sharpie, a film canister, paper towels, baking soda, and vinegar. So the first step is we want to draw a little face onto your film canister, and then pour in the vinegar. Then we're going to wrap up some baking soda in a piece of paper towel. Folding it over, making a mess is optional. Next, put the baking soda in, put the cap on, and see what happens. Our next experiment is also a tiny bit of a variation on baking soda and vinegar, except with a couple more added ingredients. So next we're going to make a lava lamp. So you're going to need like a tall container, fill it about halfway, 3/4 of the way up with water, and spoon in some baking soda. Mix that up and add some food coloring as well. I'm gonna do some green here. Maybe if I can get the lid off. Alright, got some green in there. Stir that up so we have some nice green baking soda water. Alrighty, that's all nice. So now we're gonna pour in some oil. And we know that because of the different density of the oil and versus the water, that they're gonna form 2 separate layers. Look at them forming those 2 separate layers. I keep pulling containers out of the drawers. It's kind of fun. I feel like I'm on a cooking show set. Okay. Now that our oil and water have formed the 2 separate layers, we're going to drop a little bit of vinegar in there. And as the vinegar reaches down to the layer with the baking soda in that water, it's gonna start to form that carbon dioxide, and it's gonna release it, ooh, that's a big one, and create a lava-like effect, lava lamp-like effect in your glass. Pretty fun. You can also do the exact same thing with dropping an Alka-Seltzer tablet in there because it will do the same thing, react with the water to release carbon dioxide and create the bubbles. Let's get our dish back out. Woo. And let's move on to a childhood favorite of mine, which literally is just cornstarch, food dye, and water. Cornstarch into a pan, and you might be thinking, Brianna, this is such childhood stuff. Okay, but when's the last time you played with cornstarch and water? Have you ever let your kids, if you have kids, play with cornstarch and water? It's so much fun. So you need some cornstarch. I got the green food coloring out, so let's just make it green again. Pour it in there and start to mix it up and see what happens. I want to get a good consistency. Man, this provided like probably a ridiculous amount of childhood fun for me. I won't even lie. So cornstarch and water forms a non-Newtonian fluid, which means that when you leave it alone, it oozes. But if you were to scoop it up and put pressure on it, it becomes a solid. But as soon as I let go, It starts to ooze again. Ooh. Oh my gosh. Pardon me while I relive my childhood. So non-Newtonian fluids change their behavior when force is applied to them. So in the case of the cornstarch, when you don't have force applied, it's kind of liquidy. When you do apply a force, it becomes a solid, which is why you can actually walk across this stuff if you have a big enough tray. Oh. So much fun. Okay. Yee! I need to put this away, but I just can't. Like, okay. Next experiment. See, cornstarch and water, fun for people of all ages. I'm gonna go wash my hands now. Next up, we are making some slime. Slime, another childhood classic that I have just, oh my gosh, I love making slime. I've been making, ooh, let me not stop making that. I just love making slime. It is so much fun to do and just, oh, such a fun experiment. Slime is super like all the craze now still, but it's really easy to make at home. So all you need is some glue, like Elmer's original school glue. You need approximately the same amount of water that you did for the glue. You want to mix that together. So that's all nice and mixed together. Now we need to make a borax and water solution. So to do that, all we need is a tablespoon. I sneeze. Bless me. We just need a tablespoon of borax. And borax can be found in like the laundry detergent aisle. It's like a laundry booster and multi-purpose cleaner. You do want to make sure an adult is helping you with this just because you don't want pets in your borax. And then once you're done playing with the slime or touching borax, just make sure you wash your hands well because it can slightly irritate your skin, but hopefully after like, you know, a lot of exposure to borax. And then within that tablespoon of borax, we need a cup of hot water. Another reason to have a good adult around. So as a small child, you don't burn yourself on hot water. All right, so I got borax and hot water. Gonna mix that together. Ooh. I'm just gonna pour a little bit into my glue and water mixture. Like a tablespoon, teaspoon at a time. And stir. And you'll start to notice, ooh, that once was liquidy glue and water is starting to form some slime. All right, and then you just want to add just a little bit more. If you add too much of it, you will make your slime too hard, which is not fun to play with at all. So go slow, mix it. Super fun to mix it with your hands until you have a nice slime consistency. All right, I think just, it's still a little bit wet, so we just need a teensy bit more borax solution to make it ideal ideal slime consistency. And you can experiment putting in more or less borax, just whatever floats your boat. There we are. Slime. I don't know why I'm saying it like that. Slime. Super easy. You can buy the giant gallon sizes of glue at the store, get one big box of borax, and all you need is some water and food coloring, and you have slime for days. And it's so much more fun when you make it yourself because you get the experience of making it yourself. One of my personal favorite things to do with slime is to blow bubbles in it. I, alas, currently have no straws in my house, but it's super fun to stick a straw in there and like blow a bubble in your slime. It's so much fun. I used to do it as a kid for like hours until I would get really lightheaded. Whoop. So there you go. There's some homemade slime for you, super easy. If you end up getting it stuck in your hair or on your clothes or anything, vinegar will break down. Vinegar, again, see, the real MVP of at-home science. Vinegar will break down the cross-linked bonds in this slime polymer and will help you get it out of whatever you got it stuck on. But happy slime playing. I don't even know what experiment number we're on at this point. I'm just rolling. All right, we're on experiment number 5 here. And for this, we're gonna need a dish, some milk. Just pour that all in there. And some food dye. So I have actually been working with like gel food dyes for this thing because that's just what's in my house. But this will work best with liquid food dye. So I'm actually going to like thin these guys out a little bit before I place them in my milk. Boop, 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 boop. Alrighty. Let me give you a bird's eye view of what that looks like. And now we're just gonna drop some liquid dish soap in the center of all of that. Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. That's a super fun experiment. I love doing this like magic milk experiment, watching the color swirl and move around or I put in the dish soap. And this occurs because the dish soap is actually breaking up the surface tension of the milk. Ooh, it's having some more fun over here. So the surface tension of the milk is broken up by the dish soap and it causes the fats and the liquids in the milk to move around and thus disperse the food dye because the food dye is just in the water phase, it's not in the fat phase. Try experimenting with this with different fat contents of milk and see what happens when you do so. That was experiment number 5. Let's move on to experiment number 6, which definitely needs the most amount of adult input because it's the most complicated. We're gonna be making our own litmus paper, which is pH paper, from red cabbage. All right, so to do this, we're going to need to chop up this red cabbage and boil it in some water on the stove to extract all of the red cabbage juice out. I'm gonna go do that. All right, use that boiling break to clean up partially my kitchen. Let's see what we got here. So we're gonna strain out the cabbage. So we just want this beautiful purple liquid. Let me just dump some cabbage all over my countertop while we're at it. Look at that. You see how pretty that is? That is gorgeous. So now we are actually going to put that in a bottom of a pan. Dang. Are we seeing this? Are you seeing the same thing I am? And we're gonna soak some paper in that. And not burn ourselves because it is hot. All right. We want our paper to be absolutely saturated. And then we're gonna let it dry. So this one, unlike the other ones, does take a little bit more preparation time. It's the most complicated one, I guess, in a sense of how long some of the stuff might take. But I also think it's gonna be one of the coolest ones. I'm gonna let this dry. I'm actually probably gonna get my hairdryer and take a hairdryer to it so it dries faster. And then we're gonna test the pH of some substances using our homemade litmus paper. Okay, our pH paper is dried and I cut it up into different strips and I have assembled 6 containers of liquids from my kitchen. Let's test the pH of them. All right, so this one turned my pH paper pinkish. This one turned it a little bit more blue than it was to begin with. We've got pink again. We've got not much of a change, but if anything, a very slight pink. All right. Not much of a change again, but maybe a little slight pink. And then our last one, gloopy. Pink! All right, so what I have here is vinegar, baking soda and water, lemon juice, carbonated water, normal milk, and buttermilk. And so our acids turned pink and our bases turned more blue, or in the case of this carbonated water, around ever so slightly, should be slightly a little bit more acidic, and our milk should also be about neutral, maybe ever so slightly acidic, whereas milk versus buttermilk is a lot more acidic than normal milk. So that's a super fun way to make some at-home DIY pH paper that you can test, have so much fun testing anything in your house. Another fun way you can do this, it just kind of, I guess, depends on what you want to do afterwards, is you can actually drop this, the red cabbage juice, into the liquid you're testing. This is just an eyedropper from like an old thing of skincare product that I finished. Makes an excellent pipette. So if I drop the red cabbage juice into my vinegar, you can see it begins to turn pink. indicating this is an acid. Whereas if I drop it in my baking soda and water, it turns blue, indicating that it's a base. So if I drop this into my different substances, and see what happens, we can see here that the buttermilk is a little not as pink as the vinegar turned, but pinker than my carbonated water and my milk. And my lemon juice and vinegar turned pretty pink, and my baking soda and water turned blue. Give you guys a closer look. So here is my assortment of pH tested mixtures with the indicator dropped into them. So that's what the red cabbage dye is it's an indicator. Something that can tell you whether or not something is an acid or a base, or changes colors in the presence of an acid or a base. Pretty cool, right? So that is 6 easy experiments that you can do at home with something you probably already have in your kitchen, or just have to make a quick run to the grocery store to find. Hope you enjoyed it. Comment below which one was your favorite experiment. Try them at home. Like this video, comment on this video, subscribe to my channel, and as always, keep it sciencey!